What would you do if you found some kind of alien artifact? Would you keep it for yourself? Would you study it and try to uncover its secrets? Or would you lock it away and never speak of it again? A rare dilemma, and one you'll probably never face. But in 1974, a family in Florida found themselves dealing with this exact situation. That year, the Betz families discovered a strange metal ball on their property. From that moment on, their lives were never the same.
I have no knowledge of how the spirit itself happened to be in the place where I found it. As I've stated previously, when I found it, it was on top of the ground. It was not embedded. I saw no charred marks, no big indentations in the ground. In fact, it looks as if someone had taken it and set it in the spot. But as to how it got there, I, nor anyone else I know, has any knowledge of this.
The paranormal community now knows this object as the Betz Mystery Sphere. But is this object really an alien artifact? Why did it receive so much attention? And where did it come from? Let's find out.
With 51 million people entering another
surveillance camera capturing the
unidentified flying object.
lockdowns and mass testing.
Today, that the world is going to end.
The brush fire. This story begins with a brush fire on Fort George Island, Florida. In late May of 1974, this fire swept through 88 acres owned by the Betz family. After the fire had dissipated, 3 members of the family inspected their property to assess the damage. 21-year-old Terry Betz, his father Antoine, and his mother Jerry were all present on that day. Terry was a pre-med student and his father was a marine engineer. They were intelligent people, not the kind to make up wild stories. At some point, they stumbled upon a gleaming metal ball sitting in the middle of a fire-blackened earth. It was about 8 inches in diameter, and aside from a strange triangle motif, there was no markings on its highly polished surface. The family first assumed that they had found some kind of military object. They also theorized that it might have come from a NASA spacecraft, or perhaps even a Soviet satellite. They also began to wonder whether the orb had caused the brush fire as it plummeted down to the surface from space. But in the end, this highly educated family went with the most logical explanation they could think of. They had found a Spanish cannonball from the time of the conquistadors. Although the family was a little confused and unnerved by the object, they decided to take it home. But things were about to get much stranger for the Betz family. The strange properties of the Betz ball. After getting home, Terry put the orb on his bedroom windowsill. Although it served as an interesting decoration, nothing out of the ordinary happened for the next 2 weeks. This all changed when Terry decided to play his guitar for a visiting friend. For whatever reason, the Betz ball started to react to the sound waves emanating from the guitar. According to Terry, the object vibrated like a tuning fork, and certain notes from his guitar elicited a bizarre throbbing sound. High-frequency sounds also emanated from the orb. Although the Betz family could not hear these sounds, the family dog became highly agitated, and it was obvious that the animal was hearing incredibly high-pitched vibrations coming from the object. Jerry Betz later explained, "There must have been high-frequency waves coming from it. When we put our poodle beside the ball, she whimpers and puts her paws over her ears. Some say that these sound waves activated the orb. This is an understandable theory, especially since the ball began behaving strangely in the days following the guitar incident." Antoine used his engineering knowledge to run several informal experiments with his med student's son observing. First, they placed the object on the floor and started pushing it around. According to the Betz family, the orb would roll in one direction before stopping and vibrating. It would then change directions on its own accord, eventually rolling back to whoever pushed it. Sometimes it would change directions multiple times before returning to its original position. In one experiment, Antoine placed the orb on a glass coffee table. The orb rolled to the very edge of the table before stopping and reversing. It repeated this maneuver several times, almost as if the orb knew where the edge of the table was. The Betz family even claims that when they tilted the table to one side, the ball was able to roll uphill without any assistance. The Betz family also theorized that the orb was solar-powered. This was because it seemed to change its behavior based on the weather, and on sunny days it was much more active than on cloudy days. A single area on the orb was magnetic, but the rest was not. 4 magnetic poles were later discovered. When someone shook the ball vigorously, it would seemingly try to run away from them when placed on the ground. Eventually, the Betz family became highly disturbed by the orb and decided to pack it away in a bag at night. But they also knew they had to go public and share their discovery with the world. This is when they called the local newspaper, the Jacksonville Journal. The newspaper sent a photographer named Lon Enger to the Betz home. Jerry showed Lon the orb, and Lon later stated, "She told me to put it on the floor and give it a push. It rolled a ways and stopped. So what?" She said, "Just wait a minute." It turned by itself and rolled to the right about 4 feet. It stopped. Then it turned again and rolled to the left about 8 feet, made a big arc and came back right to my feet. Lon snapped a few shots and the Betz ball was soon an international news story. Over the next few weeks and months, the family was hounded by journalists who wanted to see the ball for themselves. One university professor requested that Jerry ship the ball to his research lab for examination, but Jerry refused. She feared that the ball would be taken. It was at this point that the family's life became even stranger. Their house essentially became haunted with strange organ-like music playing at night with no apparent source. Doors began to slam constantly for no discernible reason. Eventually, the U.S. Navy confiscated the Betz ball. The Navy immediately began running tests at the Jacksonville Naval Air Station, but their X-ray machines were not powerful enough to see inside the orb. They were intent on slicing the object in half to see inside. Eventually, the Betz family allowed the U.S. Navy to do some studies on the Betz ball. The theories. Some believe that the Betz ball is some kind of alien drone, a device to observe new worlds and beam back information. Based on scientific examination, it seems as though the ball was designed to act as an audio transponder. One examination found that the ball contains 2 internal spheres that have atomic numbers higher than 140, which would suggest an element heavier than anything we have constructed on Earth. Dr. James Harder of Berkeley stated that if the ball had been sliced or drilled, it would have created an atomic explosion. Yikes. Others say that the ball is man-made. In 2012, skeptics announced that the orb was simply a check valve produced by a company called Bell & Gossett. An artist named James Derling Jones also came forward and claimed that the ball had fallen off his Volkswagen bus while he was driving past the Betz property. According to him, the ball was stolen from an unnamed source, and he was planning to use it as scrap metal for a sculpture. The Betz family returns to obscurity. Eventually, the Betz family became overwhelmed by the constant media attention they were receiving. At a certain point, they refused to give any more interviews and returned to their life of relative obscurity. To this day, no one really knows for sure where the ball came from or whether it was really capable of strange things reported by the Betz family and the journalist. But you have to wonder, why would the U.S. Navy take such a keen interest in the object if it was just a piece of scrap metal fallen off of a Volkswagen? Why would so many scientists spend so much time studying the orb? There was something not quite right about the Betz mystery ball, and perhaps we'll never truly understand its secrets. But what are your theories? Has anything ever fallen off your car that was as mysterious as the Betz mystery orb? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.